morning. Welcome to the SAWA Seminar at Cat Lions. I want to start by thanking Dolby for that production of Creative. It's a perfect example of how to use technology and animations for today's cinema's world. So, I am Claudia González-Romo. I'm your host today. I'm the special advisor for UNICEF, and it's a pleasure to be here today with you. So the power of cinema reaches an influential audience that is captive, immersive, educated, socially aware, but also this is an unparalleled medium to transmit an idea. Cinema storytelling capability and capacity to drive change is what fuels the importance of organizations like mine or Project Everyone to partner with cinema to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Let me talk to you for a second about the Sustainable Development Goals. One of the most important goals, actually, of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the one that I want to focus on because I know it affects all, is women and gender, women and girls. So you all are here today because you have the creative, brilliant minds. We're going to talk about the role of women and cinema and how can we change hearts and minds utilizing cinema audiences to make real progress in advancing humanity. The perception and the representation of women is low, and it's actually negative. Only 9% of commercials and only 14% of movies are actually directed by a woman. And this will be the focus of our conversation today with great influential businesswomen who will be joining me. So given how the power of cinema is well recognized, now let me start and give you a little hint of some of the great movies of 2017.
Is there anything else you want to show me?
Oh, goodbye.
Let me start by introducing our speakers. And first up will be Catherine Jacob. She is the CEO of cinema advertisement giant Pearl and Dean in the UK. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much. So now let's add to the power of cinema and bring the power of creativity. Kate Stanners is the chairman and global chief creative officer of Saatchi & Saatchi. So Kate has very kindly prepared a reel of some of the Saatchi & Saatchi's network of cinematic adverts. So let's take a look at them. And there we go. Welcome, Kate. So to add to the power of cinema and the inspiration of creativity, let's bring now in the art of film directing. So Gillian Armstrong's films and documentaries have been screened in Cannes, in Berlin, in Sundance, you name it. Let's enjoy one of my role models, Gillian's award-winning work. Gillian Armstrong. There we go. Thank you so much. What a great panel. I'm Catherine. It's been amazing to see the content of Project Everyone and some of the other pieces that you have done and transmitted in the global cinema medium for almost 3 years, and seeing how that promotes the Sustainable Development Goals or global goals. So firstly, it's been powerful to see because it reaches such a great audience, and it's a perfect vehicle to transmit the kinds of messages that, for example, my colleague from WFP or I from UNICEF want to transmit. But secondly, because of the retention and the engagement that is generated by cinema advertisement. So, Catherine, why do you think this audience of cinema is so critical to make change? Why this?
Because audiences are growing, there's more films to see, we reach a broad spectrum of people. So millennials, who everyone always says they're really hard to get hold of, we deliver those in spades as well. And everybody's interested by very compelling content like the sort that Gillian makes. And it can resonate with people and deliver emotional messages that people will act on.
Kate, so you're recognized as one of Ad Age's Women to Watch, and again, a member of WACO. You're also really well versed in gender and women issues and diversity altogether. So how should we think of ads and media messaging that can strive to be gender equal, not only in cinema, but all across?
I think it's probably beholden on us all to really consciously think of our bias. And I think as in advertising, as authors of cultural messages, it should be something that there is an unconscious bias right the way through the process, and we have to sort of seek the difference in every part of our process. So from a planning stage in advertising terms to how we write things, we need to look at where the differences are in order that then we project a very different spectrum of characters, role models, and a sort of different perspective. And then I think that goes right the way through to production. We're talking about the influence of different voices.
Yeah.
It's so important. And our clients need to, as well, be very open to breaking stereotypes and being happy to see different models in their communications.
Let me pick it from there. So, Catherine, you are a veteran of the cinema medium, and you were awarded an OBE for the promotion of gender equality and diversity. You wrote the book, The Glass Wall, which was about women in business. So what would be your dream scenario in combining your passions, and how do you see the future of cinema?
I think that if we can bring the power and resonance of our audience together with brands, you can make change. So in the UK recently, to use an example, we worked with the energy firm EDF together with the film Hidden Figures, and we used that as a vehicle to talk to young women about having careers in science, technology, engineering, and maths. And we worked with the brand and the filmmaker to take that message out to young girls who might not have considered that. And the context of the film, together with the message of the brand and their social conscience, really, really resonated. And if you'd have stood there and seen those girls walking out thinking, that's it, I know what I want to do now, it's amazing. So brands with conscience working with the power of cinema, that's my ideal.
Gillian, let me turn it to you. So you have a very successful career as a woman film director that has led you to international Hollywood awards and recognition and so on. So you've made it. You're my hero. You're many people's hero. You've made it. Why haven't others made it?
Very good question. And it's actually why I'm here and why I've come all the way from Australia to say to the advertising industry, the fact that there are only 9% of women directing is appalling. You should be the leaders in communication. And actually, it's sort of like a no-brainer. Aren't you selling to women? There is such a thing as women's point of view. And it's not just doing feminine products. So I was at a seminar about 18 months ago, and I really thought things had improved for women. I see women's name up on screen and in TV and so on. And when I heard that the figures were literally, well, in Australia it's 17% of women directing film and television, worldwide it's 14%, but that it was 9% of women directing commercials, I was just absolutely shocked. And then I literally went to my Directors Guild and said, this is crazy, we've got to do something about it. For years, to answer your question, I thought, well, I made it, so shouldn't everyone else be able to? And basically, the conclusion is this. It is not a level playing field. There is unconscious bias. There's unconscious bias from women and from men about who they believe a creative is. So it's who they believe a creative writer is and who they believe a director is. And underneath it all, the bias is that it's a man in a baseball cap. And we have to change this. And I'm so thrilled that so many of you turned up today. I thought, well, this is definitely a seminar you wouldn't want to be at. But I think together we can all come up with ways that this can be changed, because bias can be changed.
So we know the numbers, we've heard it all around. What is the role of education and training here?
I think it is about, we talk about role models, and it is so important that really probably at college it's almost too late to start seeing, sort of talking to young women at school, they need to see that these are opportunities for them. Because I think somehow there's self-selection going on, and they're not seeing these powerful roles as roles for them, for whatever reason. So I think, and probably just because there's not enough of Gillians. You know,
Or you,
not
you also,
enough.
or you.
Or me. Yes, not
We
enough
need
of
more
me.
you.
You also mentioned that maybe agencies could go and have.
I think it's important that we go out and have a presence at that stage. I think it is beholden on us to actually go out and have the
What
conversation.
does that mean? Putting it on your creative brief, going to schools? What do you mean?
I think it is. I think it is taking responsibility locally, as globally, for people like me that get a chance to have a say on something on that sort of scale. But I think everyone should do something.
Let's open up for the discussion. Okay, so Gillian, let's start. How do we do that?
So let's think in the big picture. Shouldn't it come from the top? Shouldn't you, first of all, it should be all the companies that pay for the ads. Shouldn't they have an official agenda, and all the agencies, which is about diversity and gender? And it's not token. We've all whinged about this for years and years. It's actually time to be active, to
But
take
Kate,
real action.
So Gillian's comments about like giving girls a break, and not being able to elevate the playing field for all. But we know that actually directing is a full-on job, right? It's not like all in all, and you have to. Do you believe that commercial directors only start building recognition about 28 to 30 years old, which is the time in which people start having family? Is that really an issue? Like, do you have any?
I think it's one of the issues, and I think one of the issues is, as Gillian said, when you start, it is about confidence and it is about resilience, and getting breaks is hard.
It's getting your foot in the door.
And getting your foot in the door. And I think what happens, though, with commercial directors is once you build momentum. And that momentum really can start kicking in, and you kind of get what you might call hot as you pick up momentum. And
Which
and
you
that
become
very
hot
often
when you have family.
happens at about that age. And I think if you are taking some time out to have a family, and this is universal across all jobs. This isn't just this, but you out of the landscape for a year or two, and then picking that momentum up is hard.
But I think the confidence thing is important, because one of the things that Sue and I always say to people when we're doing our book tour is we say to women, you've got to show off more. Instead of thinking that because you work really, really hard, someone's going to notice, you've got to talk up your achievements. And actually, the more you
women
say
aren't
to
good
yourself...
at the bullshit.
No,
We're not
the
good
more
at
women
promoting
say to
ourselves.
themselves, I'm really good at this, I've done this, you know, the more it becomes a truism, the more they start to believe it. We've got to stop thinking that if we work twice as hard and sit in an ivory tower, someone's going to ride up on a charger and make us a princess.
What are the concrete things? Being in an agency, being like in the film industry, what are the things that we need to do to increase quota? Is quotas one? Is it like adding more dialogue time?
There's a lot of
modeling
people
system?
against the idea of quotas, but you saw the Swedish Film Institute. They were incredibly successful. I mean, it's different. It's government money, for filmmakers. They put a target in. They said, we hope in 6 years that the funding for films in Sweden will be 50-50. Within 2 years, the number in Sweden had gone from like 21% to 45%. They were amazed. So it's not that talent isn't out there. It's just actually making people conscious to say, oh, have we looked at any women's reels?
Yeah, you have to do that. It's searching. And I think I'm launching a thing around our network, which is just making sure that we always search for that difference. So at that stage, when you're looking at directors, the usual suspects are easier to pick. So you might just have to look a little bit further, and it might take you a little bit longer, but that's what we're going to do. And
Catherine?
I think in work, make sure that every succession plan is 50-50, male and female, and for brands that want to have change, then work with cinema.
Yeah.
So just one last, heroes, people that you admire, brands that are doing it right?
Well, I think you've got brands that are doing it right, people like P&G when they did Like a Girl. I think there's a great work for This Girl Can, and they show women in different ways. I think This Girl Can was the fact that, young women didn't feel they could. And it was just a mental state. It was fantastic. So I think there are brands that are doing
name dropping here?
Well, about clients. But that's it. I'd say Procter & Gamble are doing a very good job.
Good.
Well,
Lillian,
I think Amazon have a diversity agenda, which is a concrete one, that they're finding talented young women, offering schemes and giving them a pilot. So it's not just some sort of fake mentoring, come along and be with us. They're paying them and then they're helping get started. And I know one very talented Australian director.
Well, I hope that those brands can actually be supporting the creation of ads for cinema. And given that 80% of women make the purchasing decisions in the world, it seems that we need to start to take notice, educate, and be focused on that from birth. So this is a great piece from Content of India, which again is at the right home at the cinema. So it's my pleasure to show you this piece of content for the first time shown in a cinema environment. Bap Wali Bat.
पापा तुम्हारा शुक्रिया
बंदा ये दमदार देखो जीवन की गाड़ी चलाए इसकी है 3 बेटियां इसका ये उसूल बेटों से कोई क्यों दबाए ये हुई ना बाप वाली बात बातों में इसके दम है मेरे यार कोई डराए क्यों कोई रुलाए क्यों उफ लड़की को कोई सताए क्यों
सुनो मेरी बात ये दुनिया बस मर्दों की नहीं ये औरत की दुनिया भी है हमें उनको है पढ़ाना हर जुल्म से बचाना उनको देनी है इज्जत ये दुनिया तभी तो बनेगी खूबसूरत
शादी ब्याह की जल्दी नहीं किसी का नहीं कोई डर पढ़ना है सीखना पापा तुम्हारा शुक्रिया
And that's a wrap. So I'd like to thank our speakers, Catherine Jacob, Kate Stanners, and Gillian Armstrong, and you, all of you, for being here, this audience, our sponsors, and the global cinema advertisement companies who, together with SAWA, show the courage and insight to lead the way. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you so much.
I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. Find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very